Hi, welcome to my presentation titled Applying Kant's Categorical Imperative to Handling an Assignment Written by an AI. In this presentation, I will evaluate a modern ethical dilemma which is using artificial intelligence to complete schoolwork. I will analyze it through the lens of Immanuel Kant's moral philosophy. Specifically, I will apply the three formulations of his categorical imperative to determine whether this act can ever be considered morally permissible. My discussion will begin with a brief overview of Kant's ethical theory and his idea of the categorical imperative. Then I will present the choosing moral scenario, which is submitting an assignment written by an AI. Next, I will walk through each of Kant's three formulations, which is the universal law, humanity as an end, and the kingdom of ends. For each, I will analyze how it applies to this scenario. Finally, I will conclude with broader lessons about academic integrity and moral responsibility in the age of artificial intelligence. Immanuel Kant believed that moral actions must come from duty and respect for moral law, not from personal gain or emotion. His central idea, the categorical imperative, means that we must act only according to principles that we could will to become universal laws, rules that everyone could consistently follow. This approach doesn't depend on consequences but on rational consistency. For Kant, lying, cheating, or breaking promises are always wrong because they cannot be logically made universal laws. Kant expressed the categorical imperative in three different but related formulations. The first, which is the formula of universal law, asks whether your action could become a rule everyone follows without contradiction. The second, the formula of humanity, demands that we treat people as ends in themselves, never merely as tools for our own goals. The third, the formula of ends, envisions a moral community of rational beings who legislate moral laws for themselves and for others. Together, these formulations offer a complete system for evaluating whether an act is morally acceptable. Let us consider a scenario. Imagine a student facing a tough deadline who decides to use an AI tool to write their paper. The student submits this work under their own name, taking full credit for it. On the surface, no one seems to get hurt. The paper is done in, the grade is received, and the student moves on. However, this act involves deception. The question we'll ask using Kant's framework is not whether the act benefits the students or harm others, but whether it aligns with the universal moral duty. Let's take it through formulation 1, which is the universal law. The first test asks, can the maxim of my action be universalized? In this case, the maxim might be it is acceptable to submit AI-generated work as my own to get a good grade. Now imagine if this were a universal law. If every student used AI to write their assignments, education will lose its value. The instructors could no longer trust students' submissions. The very concept of academic grading will collapse, making the system self-defeating. Therefore, according to the formula of universal law, submitting AI-written work cannot be morally justified. It produces a logical contradiction when universalized. Formulation 2, which is the humanity to an end. The second formulation shifts focus from rules to people. It says we should always treat humanity, both in ourselves and in others, as an end, never merely as means to an end. In this scenario, the student uses the instructor's trust and the institution's grading system as tools to achieve a personal goal, which is a higher grade, without any honest effort. This deception fails to respect the rational dignity of others involved. It manipulates their good faith for personal advantage. From Kant's view, this is inherently wrong, regardless of whether anyone finds out. It violates respect for persons as autonomous moral agents. Formulation 3. The formulation asks us to imagine a moral community in which all rational beings act as lawmakers, creating a universal moral principle. If we apply this idea, could a rational community ever agree that deceit and academic dishonesty should be allowed? Clearly not. Such behavior could erode mutual respect and the trust necessary for any moral society. Therefore, submitting AI-generated work undermines the moral fabric that Kant envisioned in his kingdom of ends, where honesty, integrity, and rational duty form the foundation of ethical life. Let's summarize the results of applying Kant's three formulations. Under universal law, the act is unethical because it cannot be logically universalized. Under humanity formulation, it's unethical because it treats others as tools rather than rational beings deserving respect. And under kingdom of ends is unethical because it undermines the moral laws of community-based dishonesty. All three reach the same conclusion. The act of submitting AI-generated work as one's own is morally impermissible from a Kantian standpoint. The golden rule. Interestingly, Kant's reasoning aligns closely with the golden rule found across nearly every major world religion. Do unto others as you will have them do unto you. This principle reflects the same moral symmetry and universality of Kant's emphasis that Kant emphasizes. If we will not want to be deceived, we should not deceive others. In this way, the golden rule and Kant's ethics both call for moral consistency and respect for others as equal in moral reasoning. Modern perspective. Modern ethical discussion about fair engineering support Kant's ideas. A recent study by Lung and Wang in 2023 highlights that academic misuse of AI undermines learning outcomes, damages trust between students and educators, and erodes the purpose of education. From a Kantian point of view, this confirms that acting without moral duty, using AI deceitfully, weakens both personal integrity and social systems built on trust. Kant's philosophy teaches us that morality should never depend on convenience or personal gain. In the academic context, integrity and honesty are duties we owe not only to others but also to ourselves. Acting ethically strengthens our character and reinforces our role as rational moral agents. When we rely on our reasons to make moral choices rather than external shortcuts, we uphold the dignity and purpose of education itself. In summary, the categorical imperative provides a rational way to test moral actions. In the case of submitting an AI-written assignment, the action fails in all three formulations. It cannot be universalized, it uses others as means, and it undermines moral community. Therefore, according to Kantian's ethics, the act is morally wrong. Ultimately, moral duty requires honesty, even when it's difficult or inconvenient. Acting from duty, not from self-interest, defines true moral worth. For references, you can check out this page for the references that I used for my presentation. Thank you so much for listening.